2020 year-end is the 17th year of creating these end-of-year videos. I hope that I have something good to say about 2020. Here goes.
As always, the year-end review starts with December of the previous year. Some of you may know that Jay Cooper, Cheryl's father, left his kids 3 rifles. Since Kevin has started a gun collecting hobby, he encouraged John Cooper to bring the guns out of storage. They are interesting .30-30 rifles, but with a little research, they discovered that they are not rare. Winchester produced over 100 different commemorative rifles in batches of 50 to 100,000 rifles each. 20,000 each were made of the 3 different rifles that Jay left to his kids. A 1976 Bicentennial, 1977 Wells Fargo and 1977 Legendary Lawman. Cheryl allowed Kevin to take possession of Cheryl's 1976 Bicentennial rifle and clean the past 40 years of tarnish off the rifle. Looks really good now.
Last launch of the year and Tony flew his Pinata rocket again. Yet another awesome flight.
January and Tony is flying the Pinata rocket again. Observe all the candy canes coming out. Cheryl and Tony continued their concerts from 2019. As a reminder, they made 8 concerts in 2019. This concert was called Grunge Big 4. They were 4 tribute bands to Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, Nirvana, and Pearl Jam.
February and it is Snow Ranch for another Pinata rocket launch. Tony made it rain cookies. 2020 was Tony and Cheryl's 33rd anniversary. As usual, they made a trip to Calistoga to visit their favorite winery, Castello di Amorosa. Second concert of the year and Tony and Cheryl saw a Led Zeppelin tribute band that played the entire Led Zeppelin 2 album and a few of their other well-known hits. For their actual 33rd anniversary, Tony ordered a heart-shaped pizza for his work lunch. You don't think that is romantic? Perhaps that he brought some home to Cheryl might smooth the ruffled feathers. Yes, that is his favorite spicy pizza next to him. Bob and Tony made a visit to Dasbur Microbrewery.
Tony's Rocket Club planned a Dark Matter drag race launch for their March event. Dark Matter motors make lots of dark black smoke with magnesium particles for stars in the dark matter. Here is the drag race in slow motion. Tony wanted to join in on the fun, but kids and rockets dropping out of the sky do not mix well. He had to use his normal red motor for takeoff because dark matter motors do not have the thrust needed to move the Pinata rocket. He did air start 2 dark matter motors in mid-air. That is pretty cool in his world. Little did they know that that was going to be the last launch for a long time. COVID-19 is about to hit. Remember that 1977 Bicentennial .30-30 rifle? Kevin got Cheryl to the shooting range to shoot it for the first time. Tony and Kevin have developed a Friday afternoon pizza and beer habit.
April and Tony's grandmother Letha Jean Snyder passed away. It was not a COVID event, just time. As you watch this eulogy by Tony, you will realize that no one knows for sure how old she was.
Letha. Who's panicking already? I'll get to that in a moment. Where was I? Ah, yes. Letha Jean Howerton, born December 23rd, 1923. Wait, is that true? As I understand it, Grandma tried to go to nursing school in 1970. Before she could start, she had to prove how old she was. Doesn't seem like a problem to most people, but somehow she didn't have a birth certificate on record. As a matter of fact, she didn't have a birth certificate, period. It did not exist. No one ever created one. To solve the issue, the officials in charge said she had to get an affidavit from family members who would swear to it when she was born. Grandma wrote in her life story that Aunt Florence was the family member who was willing to swear when she was born. Aunt Florence said, "I'm sorry, honey. I clearly remember you were not born on December 23rd. You were born on December 6th, 1923. Any case, Grandma seemed to take it well. Grandpa and most of the family ribbed her, and that she just wanted twice as many presents. Necessarily, it always followed up that if she got twice as many presents, she had to count twice as many birthdays. As far as I can remember, Grandpa always made a fuss on both days, but Grandma never counted 2 birthdays. Grandma loved to remind me of one story, even after I had my own children. Grandpa liked frozen Snickers candy bars. I loved to eat them too. I was perhaps 6 years old, and I looked forward to helping myself to the freezer when I got to Grandma's. I think my brother Joe and I had an overnight stay at Grandma's. Not too long after I got up the next day, I hit the freezer for a frozen Snickers bar. Grandma spoke from the stove, telling me to stay out of the freezer. It was Grandma. I was 6 years old and cute as a button, and I knew it because Grandma told me so. Soon after I cracked that door, Grandma was between me and the freezer. I was short enough that she was able to bend over my head and smack me smartly on the behind with authority. Nothing ever hurt me more than that love tap Grandma gave me. About 1977, my brother Joe and I were sent to stay with Grandma and Grandpa while our mother was going through a second divorce. Our mother and current father had no mechanical skills with any tools. One small job Grandma asked me to do was install some quarter round around the bathtub after she had the carpet replaced. No problem, Grandma. I grabbed a hammer and I would have started swinging toward that quarter round with all the gusto of a 14-year-old child. Grandma arrived in short order to see all the dents that I had put in that quarter round. She sucked back her feelings and reasonably calmly asked, "Don't you know how to drive a nail?" I said, "Of course I do," as I added yet another dent to that quarter round. At that point, she took the hammer from me and we walked to the garage. She got out a center punch and showed me how to put the center punch in the center of the head of the nail and use the hammer to drive the nail without damaging the quarter round. I've never forgotten that lesson. I remember fondly doing all the little jobs for Grandma and Grandpa. I'd do something minor for Grandpa and he would give me a quarter, perhaps even $1. Most times, Grandma would corner me later and ask how much Grandpa had given me. She usually would double it, making a comment about how Grandpa did not know the value of $1. As I rehearsed this speech, my son Kevin told me, My son told me about a story from about 2009 when he was about 16 years old. He and Grandpa were walking to the storage locker for some golf clubs. And Grandpa pointed out one of the other residents' granddaughters in the hall. He gave Kevin a quarter and said that he should take her on a date. Kevin pointed out that a quarter was not going to get him anywhere. If Grandma had known, Kevin could have easily made that quarter into a 20. Where was I? I got distracted with some of my fond memories. And yes, Walitha. August 19th, 1970, she changed her name from Walitha to Letha. Could have been when she got her birth certificate created and started LPN school. Long ago, I asked her why she changed her name. She told me a story about how she and her brothers were named for the towns they lived in where they were born. I checked a map and found the names of her brothers along Highway 75 in Oklahoma. Walika and Wetumpka, but I cannot find Walitha. perhaps Willitha has faded into the past like my Grammy.
After that eulogy, Tony did more research. He discovered that the mystery of how old Grandma was even deeper. He found 11 school records for her with 7 different birth dates ranging from December 3, 1922 to December 23, 1924. They all agree she was born in December, but the day and year are up for interpretation. COVID-19 caused changes in our lives. Somehow Cheryl found the front yard to be her best office.
By May, Tony decided that COVID-19 was adding to his waistline. He dusted off his bicycle and started riding. His first day's goal was 10 miles. He managed to get over 11 miles. Next day, 12-mile goal and he got 13 miles in. The next weekend, 15-mile goal and made 18 miles. 20-mile goal and made 22 miles. 25-mile goal and made 26 miles. He stayed at a 25-mile goal for a while and then decided to go for 30 miles. Made 28 miles but was too tired and sore to go for the 30 miles. He now sets a 20-mile per day goal and usually makes 21 miles. It is time for an interactive part of this presentation. With all these smart computers, phones and TVs, you have only to look at the map to see more information about what Tony has seen on his rides. Stare at a point on the map and information about that place will open up. Are you looking? There it is. This area Tony often sees deer. This particular time he saw a doe and 2 fawns. Pick another area of the map. Sorry, I didn't get a specific area. Stare more intently. That is better. The whole map gets groomed by goats during the fall. They come along and eat the excess vegetation. Look at another area of the map. Yes, this area Tony sees many pelicans. Browns are more rare than whites, but they are plentiful. Pick another area. Herons. Tony typically sees about 4 herons each trip. He is never quite sure if he is seeing a gray heron or a great blue heron. Look at another area on the map. This one is kind of rare. It is the California pheasant. He has only seen them 3 times. Last one, look at another area on the map. Got it, Tony saw a snake on the path. Chris thinks it is a California gopher snake. Tony used a nearby stick to move it back into the brush before continuing his ride. Since May 23rd, he has managed to ride over 700 miles.
June and Chris did a dangerous thing. Chris mentioned to Tony that he could not find Red Hots. Tony instantly used the magic word in his portable communicator and had 10 pounds of Red Hots delivered. It is fun being ridiculous. Tony and Bob get together every weekend and play cribbage. It reminds Tony of his late grandfather. They used to play a lot. In the many thousands of games Tony has played, he has never seen a perfect hand. Bob was willing to share the experience with Tony. Comedy is that for days, Bob kept asking if Tony set up the perfect hand. Tony has done that to Bob before, but this one was legit. Tony took off cross-country for vacation when he encountered this farting couch. Sometimes you simply must tolerate his sense of humor.
It's dead. Yeah, that was the couch farting every single time I sit on it.
Cheryl met up with Tony in Oklahoma. Tony and Cheryl ate out with Tony's cousins Lori and Larry. It was an experience that they had not enjoyed in 3 months. Tony got an advertisement from one of his travel clubs about a place called Turner Falls in Oklahoma. He decided it was a place to stop on this vacation trip.
It is July, but back before this whole COVID business started, Tony booked 5 bedrooms in Branson, Missouri and put out an invite on this high school class page for anyone who wanted a room to contact Tony, and it was theirs. 3 classmates took him up on his deal. Then COVID nearly stopped the whole idea. They managed to all meet up and have a good time in Branson. On to Iowa, and Tony's younger brother Joe feels it is his mission in life to put Tony in his place when it comes to go-kart racing. They all have a great time, and even though Tony always loses, he doesn't mind the ribbing. When in Iowa, Tony likes to visit his classmate's salon and get his hair cut. This year it even meant more considering how long it was since the last pre-COVID cut. Tony rarely gets to spend any time with his Kelderman cousins. He made it a point to spend a couple days with Dave Kelderman. It won't mean much to anyone else, but that sign hanging over Dave's bar is from his father's bakery that Tony used to live behind. When Tony goes on vacation, disasters seem to do their best to make a final destination. This time, Iowa threw a tornado at him. He got Cheryl out of their room and went to the lobby to ask where the fallout shelter was. They seemed a little confused but then decided that the conference room was the strongest part of the building. Tony and Cheryl watched the tornado to arrive before huddling in the conference room. Kevin bought a modern weapon. Kind of out of character for him. Most of his weapons are over 50 years old. Cheryl flew back to California while Tony completed his drive. While staying at a brand new Residence Inn, he got a pretty cool time-lapse video of a storm blowing through Sparks, Nevada.
August and back in California and it is pizza and beer day. Good thing they stocked up on a few beers.
September and Labor Day. The family did their usual gathering at the Chamberlain house. California had a severe dry lightning storm that started a lot of fires. The summer had been dry and then no rain with the lightning. Chris was trying to take photos showing how orange the sky was, but each photo looked like a normal day like this one from Tony's security camera. Tony got to do a little teaching about how most cameras perform an automatic white balancing and compensates for the orange in the sky. This orange photo had the white balance turned off. Hot days and COVID, Tony and Kevin started taking their drinking outside. They started sitting in the driveway each Friday evening and having a beer. Soon the neighbors started joining them. For Chris' 21st birthday, Tony put together a video he called The 300 Faces of Chris.
October came and the Coopers got some bad and good news. Bad news is that Cheryl developed breast cancer. Good news is that it was caught early. After all the diagnostics, scans and tests, she started chemotherapy treatment in November. She is scheduled for 4 months of chemotherapy, then surgery to remove the lumps, radiation as a precaution and 8 more months of targeted protein treatments for cleanup. We know that you all have her in your thoughts for the next year. For Cheryl's birthday, they took a trip up to Napa to visit their favorite wineries and restaurants. Kevin's birthday, and guess what? Yes, they are in the driveway drinking. Awesome. Halloween, and Chris had a small party with a bunch of Teletubbies. Cheryl decorated the yard and sat in the driveway drinking while waiting for the trick-or-treaters to come visiting. There were about 40 brave souls who accepted ladles of candy.
Peggy Cooper came to the house to make enchiladas for Cheryl. Chris joined in the fun.
20 years ago, and the kids started off at 0 and 6. Cheryl took them to McDonald's to sit on a horse. Chris was attending rocket launches. They got a 4th-generation photo with Granny, Margaret Ewing, Grandma Peggy Cooper, Mother Cheryl Cooper, and brother Kevon got in the photo with 6-month-old Chris Cooper. They took a family photo with the little one. Kevon had a school show that he sang in. Their summer vacation started at Monterey Bay Aquarium. Kevon and Chris got along well in those days. Kevon insisted on having his own camera this trip. The Grand Canyon was another stop. Painted Desert was the next stop. I don't think that Kevon knew what the Karate Kid was at this point. Kind of looks like it though. A stop at petroglyphs in Nevada. A stop at a wild animal park with pony rides. On to the 2000 Cooper reunion. They made a stop at the San Antonio River Walk. New Orleans Aquarium is always a good place to pose. New Orleans and Kevon and Tony sharing a steamer of crustaceans and a beer. Kevon really liked eating the crayfish. Indianola, Iowa stop at Aunt Carol and Uncle Jim's house. Kevon and Chris gathering parts to assemble a duck. Chris attempted to build a turtle. On to Nevada, Iowa to see more grandparents. Back in California, and all the cousins got together for a family photo. Kevon lost his first tooth. He was eating an apple just like he had heard his dad had lost his first tooth while also eating an apple. Chris turned 1-year-old. Kevon turned 7. They posed for a studio session. And a photo with Santa. Kids posed with Tony. They all posed for a Christmas photo.
Now for 50 years ago. Tony turned 7 years old. Tony made a hat for Easter. He proudly wore it all day long. Tony still loves watermelon with salt on it. Tony loved to imitate his grandpa, although I don't think that grandpa ever washed his car in a swimming pool. As you have seen before, Tony loves homemade ice cream. He doesn't mind cranking the machine either. One of Tony's early photos with cousins, Tony also liked sledding in the snow. Tony got his first solo mention in a newspaper. He had a solo part in the school Christmas play where he still remembers singing "I am a shaggy brown donkey," while he looked at the manger in the nativity scene they were acting out. Tony's mother started her second marriage December 10, 1970. Tony and Joe were ring bearers for the wedding. Here is a fragment of Tony and Joe's Christmas from 1970.
Cheryl also turned 7 years old. She was active in the Brownies. And she played the violin. She also had her mommy's affinity for chocolate. Here is a photo of Cheryl with her brother Ted, father Jay, grandmother Ruby, and great-grandmother Nancy Melinda Shelby Emery. Cheryl and Ted with Santa in 1970. That is all for this installment of the Cooper 2020 Year in Review.